My girlfriend slept with my best friend in our bed, so I waited until their wedding day to show the hotel footage. She ran out screaming. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and for a while, I thought I had everything figured out. Decent tech job, a 2-bedroom apartment I could afford without roommates, and a girlfriend I swore was the one. Hannah was the kind of girl who lit up every room she walked into, funny, affectionate, sharp. And then there was Kyle, my best friend since middle school. We'd been through everything together: breakups, road trips, all-night gaming marathons. If you'd asked me back then, I would have said I trusted both of them with my life. The first lie came softly. It was a Tuesday night. She told me she was staying late at work to cover for a coworker. That wasn't unusual. Her job in marketing sometimes meant long hours. But I remember opening Snapchat while reheating leftovers and noticing her Bitmoji wasn't at her office. It was somewhere downtown. I stared at the map like it had betrayed me. When I asked her about it later, she didn't even blink. "Oh, I stepped out for dinner with Lisa from the team," she said, leaning over the back of the couch to kiss me. Her lips tasted like mint and something else I couldn't place, maybe wine. Sorry, forgot to mention it. I wanted to believe her. I needed to, so I did. I nodded like it made sense, made some joke about adulting being hard, and let it go. But that night, when she fell asleep on my chest, I lay there wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Something in my gut whispered, "Don't ignore this." But I silenced it. I was happy, wasn't I? People make mistakes. I just didn't realize I'd just made mine, because that tiny lie. It was the first loose thread, and I was about to watch my whole life unravel after that night. Things returned to normal. Or maybe I just convinced myself they had. But then Kyle started showing up more. At first, I didn't question if he'd just gone through a brutal breakup, and I figured he needed distraction. One Saturday, I found him on my couch at 10 a.m., scrolling his phone like he lived there. Hannah handed him coffee before I even got one. She smiled and said, "He slept on the couch last night. He was too tired to drive back." I didn't remember inviting him. But again, I said nothing. It became routine. Kyle would drop by unannounced weeknights, weekends. It didn't matter. Sometimes he brought beer, sometimes just himself. Hannah never seemed surprised. In fact, she seemed comfortable around him. Too comfortable. They'd cook together in the kitchen while I finished work emails. I'd hear them laughing at some inside joke, and when I'd walk in, everything would get quiet for half a second, just long enough for my stomach to clench. "You're imagining things," I told myself. "They're friends. You've known Kyle for years. You're being weird." One night, I caught them sitting way too close on the couch, watching some dumb dating reality show. Hannah's legs were tucked under her, and Kyle was leaning in, whispering something that made her snort, laugh, and lightly shove him. They both looked up like I'd interrupted something. "I didn't know we were having people over tonight," I said, trying to keep my voice light. Kyle grinned. I brought wings. I forced a laugh, but it didn't reach my eyes. I could feel something shifting, like a slow, quiet crack spreading across glass. It wasn't just paranoia, it was pattern, but I wasn't ready to call it what it was. Not yet. My birthday rolled around a few weeks later. Hannah made a big deal of it: balloons in the apartment, a cake from my favorite bakery, dinner reservations at a place we couldn't really afford. She even surprised me with a smartwatch I'd casually mentioned months ago. I was stunned, grateful, a little overwhelmed. She kissed me across the table and said, "You deserve to be spoiled." And for a moment, I believed her. Later that night, I was looking for gum in her purse before we left the restaurant. She asked me to grab her lip balm. That's when I saw the folded receipt tucked between a pack of tissues and a crumpled grocery list. I wasn't snooping. I really wasn't, but the top of the paper caught my eye. Shipping address, Kyle Jensen. My name was nowhere on it. I unfolded it slowly, stomach tightening. It was for the exact same model smartwatch I'd just unwrapped. Same price. Same brand. Dated last week. When I asked her about it in the car, she laughed, but it was too sharp, too quick. "I bought one for him too," she said, not meeting my eyes. "He's been going through a rough time, and it was on sale if I got to." A chill settled under my ribs. "So you bought matching watches for your boyfriend and my best friend. Why are you making it weird?" She snapped, suddenly defensive. I was being generous. I didn't respond. I just stared out the window, gripping the watch like it might burn me after that night. I noticed she was always texting, smiling at her screen, turning it face down when I walked in. Her phone, once left casually on counters, was now glued to her side like a lifeline. That watch ticked on my wrist every second, and with every second, I trusted her less. Hannah and I had a joint credit card we used only for travel trips we planned together. Weekend getaways, anniversaries. We agreed it would stay untouched unless it was for both of us. So when I checked the account one Monday out of pure habit, I almost didn't register the $642 charge at first. It was for a luxury hotel. Across town, one with spa suites and skyline views. The charge was from Saturday. The same Saturday I'd been out of town visiting my parents. Alone. At first, I thought it was fraud. Maybe someone had stolen the card. But then I saw the name on the reservation. Hannah E. No mistake. That night I asked her about it as casually as I could. "Hey, weird charge on the card from the downtown Grandview Hotel." She barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, yeah, that was me." I blinked. "You went to a hotel?" While I was gone. She nodded like it was no big deal. I just needed some time to myself. I've been stressed lately. It was a solo staycation, nothing dramatic. I stared at her. "You used our shared card without telling me." She scoffed. "It's our money. And I figured you'd rather I recharge than come home grumpy." She walked off, humming to herself. I stood there frozen, trying to make it make sense. But I couldn't. Later, I logged into the card portal again. Clicked for the itemized minibar receipt. 2 glasses of wine. 2 desserts. 2 toothbrushes. I didn't confront her. Not yet. That night, I smiled like everything was fine. Kissed her goodnight and rolled over in bed. But my heart had already crossed into enemy territory. I didn't want apologies anymore. I wanted proof, and I was going to get it. I knew better than to scream or accuse. Words could be twisted, gaslit, buried under tears, and fake apologies. But hotel footage. Time-stamped, high-resolution truth. That couldn't be undone, so I planned. 2 weeks later, I booked a room at the same hotel, same floor, same layout, under my name. I called ahead, told the manager I was a digital consultant and had experienced theft before in hotels. I asked if they could retain security footage in case of any issues. He said yes, especially if I filed a formal request after checkout. That's when I added the VIP privacy fee to my bill. A quiet bribe, basically, to make sure no one erased anything. I told Hannah I had a last-minute weekend work retreat offsite training in a nearby city. She barely blinked. "Have fun," she said, already scrolling her phone. She didn't even ask which city. That silence told me everything I needed. On Saturday morning, I packed a fake overnight bag and kissed her goodbye. But instead of driving out of town, I drove 12 blocks. Straight to the Grandview Hotel. I checked in under a fake company name and set myself up in the lobby lounge with a hoodie, dark cap, and a clear view of the main entrance. I ordered black coffee and waited. Hours passed. Nothing then. Just after 3 p.m., there she was, wearing the same red coat she once wore on our anniversary. Hair curled, makeup soft. Beside her, Kyle, laughing, carrying her bag. I didn't cry. I didn't flinch. I just pulled out my phone. Hit record. Captured them walking hand in hand toward the elevator. Watched as they disappeared behind the chrome doors. I sipped my coffee, still warm. This wasn't a heartbreak anymore. It was an investigation. The next morning, I checked out early. Walked out with my laptop bag and a hollow kind of silence sitting in my chest. I didn't sleep much that night, not out of heartbreak, but from the buzzing adrenaline that kept me staring at the ceiling. Planning outcomes, rehearsing responses I might never say aloud by noon. The hotel manager emailed me a secure link. Per your request, here's the hallway and lobby footage, he wrote. I downloaded everything. No questions asked. I sat at my desk, the apartment still empty, and pressed play. There they were. Timestamp, Saturday, 10:15 p.m. Hannah and Kyle walked through the front doors like they owned the place. She had her hand wrapped around his arm, laughing at something he said. They stopped at the front desk. He gave his ID while she leaned on his shoulder. It looked rehearsed, familiar, not like a one-time mistake, like a routine. Then came the elevator footage. They stepped in, turned toward each other, and kissed. Full on, no hesitation. Her hands cupped his face the same way she used to do mine. I paused the video, closed my eyes, took a slow breath. Then I kept watching. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to punish myself. Maybe I needed to be sure. When the footage ended, I copied it to a USB, then backed it up to the cloud, made a password-protected folder, named it Truth. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. That would have given her the power to cry, to lie, to twist it into something I wasn't emotionally ready to battle. No, I needed time. I needed strategy, so I smiled when she got home Sunday night. Asked how her weekend was, she said it was quiet, peaceful. I did some journaling, and I said, "Good. You probably needed that." 2 months passed like fog, thick, quiet, and cold. I didn't confront her. I didn't leak the footage. I didn't even hint that I knew. I simply let her lie in peace while I mapped my exit. When I finally sat her down and told her we weren't working anymore, she blinked in slow surprise. I told her it felt like we'd grown apart, that I didn't feel seen anymore. And for once, I wasn't lying. She cried. Not hard, not desperate. Just enough to look sad. "I guess we've changed," she said softly. I moved out the following weekend, took my clothes, my books, my coffee machine, and my dignity. She didn't ask where I was going. Just said, "Take care of yourself." I did. A month later, I opened Facebook while standing in line at the grocery store. A friend had tagged Kyle in a post. She said yes. Clicked it. My stomach turned cold. There was Hannah, beaming, kissing his cheek hand, extended to show off a diamond ring. Not just any ring, my grandmother's ring. The one that vanished from my nightstand months ago. The one I asked her about, and she said, "I think you misplaced it." The one she claimed was probably in storage. It sparkled on her finger like a final slap. The comment section was filled with heart emojis, congratulations, and finally, S. Everyone seemed so happy for them. I stared at the photo for a long time, not out of heartbreak, out of calculation. That ring was never meant for her, but maybe the spotlight she loved so much was exactly where I'd show them what betrayal really looked like. When the envelope arrived, it felt ridiculous to be nervous about a piece of paper. The card was heavy cream stock, embossed initials so perfectly curated. It looked like something out of a movie I used to hate. I almost set it on fire in the sink, just to feel something explosive and final. Instead, I slid it into my jacket pocket and walked out like I didn't care. Part of me did want to burn it, to stomp it into ash and mail the ashes back with a note. "You picked the wrong day." But another part, the clinical camera obsessed. Part heard the tick of every time-stamped kiss again and felt a strange calm. Timing mattered. Drama was an art. If I wanted their betrayal to be undeniable, public, and unforgettable, I had to be patient. So I RSVP'd. Yes, a week later, I messaged Kyle. Congrats, man. If you need help with a videographer, I can cover it no strings. His response was instant. Dude, seriously? That's huge. Thank you, Hannah messaged a heart emoji and can't wait to celebrate. As if our apartment and my chest weren't still holding echoes of what they'd done. I volunteered to pay for the videographer with a smile that didn't show. As a peace gesture, I told Kyle when we met for beers. He clapped my back and said, "Bro, you're a legend." Hannah hugged me when she dropped off a wedding favor the next week and mouthed, "Thank you." The flattery tasted metallic. I spent nights learning the venue layout, the AV setup, projection screens, where the cameras would sit, how the DJ cued video footage. I bought a cheap USB, practiced passwords, and labeled folders with stupidly neat names. I rehearsed what I would say if anything went sideways, and more importantly, what I would not say. Everything felt like setting a stage with the lights already dimmed. The plan was simple. Let them bask in the glow, then let the footage pull the curtain. The closer the date got, the louder the apartment became the clink of glassware. The DJ's playlist uploaded to a shared folder, Hannah humming through vows she'd practiced in the mirror. And the night before the wedding, when I finally tested the file one more time, my hands shook not from fear, but from the cold delight of knowing what would play next. The venue smelled like fresh roses and polished wood, soft sunlight spilling through the stained glass windows. Hannah walked down the aisle in white, every step measured and confident, hair curled just so, lips painted the perfect shade of red. Kyle's eyes were fixed on her, shining with what I assumed was love, pride, anticipation. Guests murmured, cameras flashed, a violinist hit a crescendo. For a moment, I felt nothing, just a hollow, icy calm settling into my chest. The vows were read. They promised eternity, loyalty, trust words I had once whispered myself, believing in them. The priest looked over the couple, voice steady, "Speak now or forever, hold your peace." I stood. My heart thumped like it was trying to escape my ribs. Every eye in the room turned toward me. The air shifted, palms sweaty, knees locked, the quiet anticipation thick enough to taste. I cleared my throat. "I have something too." "Show the bride and groom," I said, my voice echoing just slightly against the vaulted ceiling. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few jaws dropped. A few hands flew to mouths. Kyle's face tightened, a flicker of panic in his eyes. Hannah froze mid-breath, one hand clutching her bouquet a little too hard. I handed the DJ a USB with deliberate calm. He glanced at me, eyebrows raised, then nodded. The lights dimmed. The projector hummed to life. There they were. The hotel lobby, clear as day. Timestamp: the same weekend I had worked away. Hannah and Kyle walked in, laughing. She leaned into him. He kissed her. Hands intertwined. Elevator doors closing. Every subtle glance, every sly smile, they were all there. Captured in crisp, undeniable clarity. The room grew colder, though the sun still poured through the glass. I could feel the tension radiating from the pews. Conversations halted mid-word. Phones dropped. Breath held. No one moved. No one dared. And Hannah screamed the first real crack in her perfect facade was just moments away. The scream cut through the soft hum of the violin like a knife. Hannah bolted, her white dress fanning around her legs as she tore past the first row of guests. Tears streamed down her face, mascara streaked, lips trembling, and the bouquet she'd been holding slipped to the floor unnoticed. Everyone froze, wide mouths open, a mix of shock and disbelief spreading like wildfire. Kyle jumped up, stumbling over a chair. "Hannah," he shouted. But she was already halfway out the door, slamming it behind her. His parents flinched, gripping each other's hands, horrified. Whispers spread through the pews, speculation running wild. The air felt heavy, charged with electricity, every heart in the room beating a little faster. I stayed seated, calm, as if nothing had happened. My friends around me clapped softly, barely audible, but enough to let me know they understood. No one said a word. No yelling, no dramatic confrontations, just the undeniable truth playing across the projector. Every eye in the room had witnessed it. The video didn't lie. The evidence spoke louder than anger ever could. The priest approached, eyes wide, but composed. I shook his hand with a quiet nod. "Thank you," I said. No explanations, no apologies. Just gratitude for his presence in this strange, surreal moment. As I stood, I took in the chaos, guests murmuring, phones snapping pictures, faces red with disbelief. My stomach wasn't fluttering with triumph. It was light. Clear, the tension that had knotted my chest for months was loosening. I'd stayed calm. I'd stayed patient. And the truth had done its work. I picked up my coat and walked out, letting the sunlight wash over me. Outside, the city continued as if nothing had happened. But inside that hall, a line had been drawn. No one could argue. No one could spin the story. The hotel footage had done all the talking, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe. The days after the wedding were surreal. My phone buzzed constantly, each notification a dagger in its own way. Texts from Hannah, frantic, pleading, sometimes apologetic, sometimes angry. From Kyle, defensive, sometimes entitled, claiming it just happened once or you don't understand. Mutual friends messaged too. Some shocked, some outraged, others somehow offended that I dared to expose the truth. "You ruined their lives," one read. "You should have let them have happiness," another said. I read each one carefully, then deleted them. No reply, no explanation, no argument. I didn't want to feed the narrative they were desperate to spin. Their chaos was theirs, not mine. Every message that popped up on my screen became part of the aftermath I didn't have to engage with. Hannah begged to explain herself, her words punctuated with desperate emojis. "Please, just hear me out." It wasn't like that. But I didn't open her messages. I didn't need her excuses. I didn't need her lies or her manipulations. My silence was deliberate, to boundary drawn. A line in the sand that I would not cross again. Only one message remained, buried among the rest. It was her apology. Not a text, not a call, just one message. The simplest words possible. "I'm sorry." My thumb hovered over it. I could see the timestamp, the small blue check marks, the double tap of delivery. But I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The apology wasn't for MIT, was for her peace, her conscience. The illusion that she could somehow make this right. I deleted the rest. Closed the app. Let the phone sit silent on the counter. For the first time in months, I felt a strange kind of relief, not from revenge, not from victory, but from reclaiming control. Their chaos, their guilt, their lies. None of it belonged to me anymore. And in that silence, I could finally begin to breathe. It's been a year since that day, long enough for the sting to dull. Long enough to see the pieces settle where they were always meant to. I heard through a friend that Hannah and Kyle never actually tied the knot. Something about cold feet, family disapproval, or maybe the guilt finally catching up hit didn't matter. I didn't seek it out. I didn't need the details. I only needed to know that the illusion they'd built so confidently had collapsed under its own. Wait, Tana moved back in with her parents. Humbled and smaller somehow, the confidence she wore like armor now stripped away. Kyle left town, his friends whispering about him, rumors trailing him like a shadow. No dramatic confrontations, no fights, just natural consequences, quiet and undeniable. And me? I'm dating again. carefully this time, cautiously, but with openness I didn't have before. I laugh more, sleep more, and invest in people who actually see me. Nights are calm now. My bed no longer haunted by shadows or echoes of deceit. The scars remain, sure they always will, but they're reminders. Not chains, the irony is almost poetic. I never had to speak a word, never had to cry, never had to throw a fit to reclaim what was mine. I let time, patience, and evidence do the work for me. Watching them unravel in their own story felt like the quietest, most satisfying revenge possible. And for the first time in a long while, I sleep well. Not because I ruined their big day, not because I humiliated them in front of everyone, but because I finally reclaimed my own life, my peace, my dignity. My power. The world kept moving, they kept spinning, and I kept walking forward, wider, wiser, and free.